Ramaphosa has called on multinational pharmaceutical companies to reconsider their opposition to the CHIPS waiver. He says 20 years ago, South Africa was sued at the time of the HIV pandemic by manufacturers over access and manufacturing of anti-retroviral medication. President Ramaphosa says if international community gives a green light to Africa, COVID-19 can be defeated.
What they have now come up with is something that we can work with. One is to capacitate a number of countries on the continent to be able to manufacture their own vaccines, but at the same time to move ahead at the WTO that this matter of the waiver should now be considered and considered seriously. Because on the one part it can be an exemption that does not lead to transfer of technology. What President Macron and I agree on is that there should be transfer of technology, and the waiver would amount to that as well. So it is important that capacity building should not just be through just giving either a license or whatever. It must result in the transfer of technology, of knowledge, so that countries on the African continent should have the capacity. Now, how many countries on the African continent would have the capacity? There are quite a number. I've been talking to a number of presidents who tell me that they will be able to build up capacity as quickly as possible. South Africa does, and a number of other countries do have the capacity, and those that may seem not to have it, they can build it up very quickly. So it is important, and I know that it will take some time at the WTO to finalize this, but at the same time we welcome the assistance to build capacity so we can follow the two-pronged strategy, the two-pronged process. We get assistance to build the capacity, and at the same time we continue with the discussions at the WTO. President Macron and I have agreed that this is what we are going to advocate at the G7. And I'm happy to work with President Macron in this regard, because this matter must not be used as a barrier. As he correctly said, South Africa led with regard to the anti-retrovirals for HIV, and in this regard we're not only working with India, but we're working with many other countries around the world. And we're very pleased that the views that we are putting forward are converging with what President Macron is saying, and there are quite a number of others as well. So we will be seeking to convince more and more people about the correctness of the position that we are putting forward, because this will be a game changer for Africa when we are able to manufacture vaccines and do not have to wait as we are waiting now. We do not want to wait forever whilst people are dying. So this for us is very important.
Well, addressing the media after their talks, Macron said France is fully dedicated to enhancing and bettering the COVID-19 vaccine production.
Let us waive the patent for all of the vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, for the duration of this crisis. But according to France, intellectual property shall not in any way, shape or form be a hurdle for the transfer of technology when it comes to the vaccines. We'll be working this afternoon with the vaccine patent pool, and we decided to support together an initiative on this matter at the G7. I fully share the battle led by President Ramaphosa, and Prime Minister Modi of India agrees as well. We shall produce as soon as possible, and there should be no IT hurdle. But before that, let me tell you as well that we need, when you talk about barriers, we need to have more transparency. We're paying a lot, we're giving a lot of money to many structures, but we do not know how much is being paid to buy these vaccines, and we suspect that the poorest are paying the highest price. So in our system, we also want responsibility and transparency in all international mechanisms for the prices.
So President Macron also raised concern about the Covax platform. You remember this facility backed by the World Health Organization and the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunisation aims to secure 2 billion vaccine doses for lower income countries by the end of 2021. Take a look.
I think one of the key elements we have to improve on the short run together, but as a remark in a working session, is transparency and accountability for this mechanism. I have to say that I have a personal problem with Covax is as a stakeholder of this initiative that we are together, as a stakeholder of Covax initiative. It's very hard to say and to see how much goes when and where. And we are accumulating the commitments, we are accumulating billions of dollars, some for when and where, I don't know. And at the same time, it's impossible to say to my friend, President Ramaphosa, in 2 months' time, in this country, we will deliver this number of doses. Honestly, this is dysfunctioning. So today, in our current organization, I have to say, we have a lack of transparency and a lack of accountability. So what I propose very concretely is that CDC Africa delivered. You have a super guy as a chairperson and a leader. He's here in the place. He delivered perfect papers.
So Biovac Institute CEO says partnerships are critical in ensuring that enough vaccines are manufactured and distributed on the African continent. SABC News foreign editor Sophie Mokoena was in conversation with the CEO.
Doctor, you spoke passionately about the capacity in South Africa in terms of manufacturing of vaccines. But I was expecting France to make major announcement. Were you not disappointed?
Well, I think firstly we have to acknowledge the meeting that is a bilateral between the two countries, and I'm sure there are other aspects that the presidents are talking about. I know that there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes to realize the true partnership that would come with announcements. So we are also waiting with bated breath to understand what are the tangibles that will come out of this, but we believe that there is a lot of work happening behind the scenes.
You spoke about what the company has done previously and now recently. Any project on the pipeline to demonstrate that capability and the capacity?
Definitely. So we will be launching our second product at the end of this year, which is also a pediatric vaccine. So I think it's important to acknowledge the vaccines that are already that are important for our children. In the background, we are also investigating new technologies like mRNA technology, which we think the likes of Biovac would be able to absorb. But it's a new technology, we're studying it, but there are positive signs that it's a capability that the likes of Biovac can be able to produce locally.
For ordinary South Africans, we're talking an imminent third wave, and people want to hear news. And in terms of perhaps an announcement that in a year's time, 6 months, South Africa will be able to try manufacturing or building capacity of manufacturing of vaccine for COVID-19.
Well, unfortunately, this is the situation that we find ourselves in as South Africa and Africans. As the presidents have said, that we stand in a queue, unfortunately. And in the short term, unfortunately, we will be dependent on external suppliers, just like the Pfizer rollout now and the J&J that will come through. But I think it's a wake-up call to everybody. And unfortunately, the sad situation is that we won't be able to respond in the short term. We will be dependent on others in the short term.
So Sophie Mokoena was also in conversation with Aspen Pharmacare CEO, and he says that security underwrite and the technology licenses transfer are two key elements to ensure that Africa has the capacity of manufacturing its own COVID-19 vaccines.
A recognition from the French government, President Macron. How do you feel about this important sign of the French appreciating your work?
You know, we have a facility in France that we've built on, and we do a lot of work with the disadvantaged communities and how we position our medicines. So it's a tremendous honor to have received it, but I never take this honor personally. It's something that the whole of Aspen are accountable and responsible for, so I take it as captain of the team holding the trophy. But it's just beyond words, the honor, and it's humbling to have received something like this, particularly from President Macron, who is a wonderful friend of Africa and a country that's given us tremendous support as Aspen in our endeavors globally.
People get recognized, but at times they then forget that the recognition adds more weight and responsibilities. How are you going to continue your work that has led to this recognition?
Oh, I tell you what, I think I've had too much responsibility. I'm feeling a weight of responsibility for the vaccine manufacturer in South Africa right now, and as we did when we did anti-retrovirals in the country. So it's, you know, recognition is a medal, but wake up, I'm still a father, I'm still got the same people around me, still got my same friends, and it's wonderful, the recognition. But you know, in Aspen we've got a saying, rest is rust. So no time to rest, we've got to keep going on. We've got so much to do, there's no time to think with respect, with rewards. We've got to sit now and work about how we get the vaccines to every single person in this country. That is where my full focus is right now.
Your message was quite strong, saying we don't want handouts. It's not a question of money, but certain commitment must be followed up, and there should be a clear indication. Can you briefly tell us from Aspen's side, this issue of manufacturing of vaccines and drugs, particularly for COVID-19, you spoke about what needs to be done. Can you recap on what needs to be done? And as a company, a very reputable company internationally, what do you expect from world leaders?
Yes, I think that I'm glad you picked up that point. You know, I'm tired of being associated with Africa and aid, and you dish out money when you've got something else to do to make your problem go away. We don't want to be associated with it. We want to solve our own problems. What I was saying was we need to have technology transfer. So we have the technology here, and we have a capability to look after ourselves. A continent can look after themselves. I also said no one company like Aspen or one country like South Africa should look after the whole continent. So I said, let's work out how we capacitate the rest of Africa. And Aspen, you know, we've got facilities in Dar es Salaam and Nairobi and Accra. We'd like to expand and try the bit we know to try and increase it across Africa, so that we can set up more centers of excellence across Africa, because we cannot, as a continent, import 99% of our vaccines. Because when the trouble comes, even when you've got money, you can't get them. So we need to look after ourselves. So what I was talking about was technology transfers and managing our demand. You know, we're a big continent, we've got lots of people. We should be buying from ourselves. And you saw what happened when India, they're not exporting it, and we get no vaccine. So it's been something I've really, our team, we've worked so hard on for the last 5 years with tremendous effort, was to build a sterile capacity capability. And we want to get one person in Africa with one vaccine from Aspen. So at the moment, we are looking to really expand our capacity so Africa looks after itself. We cannot have a begging bowl. That's not a solution sustainably.
You were given an opportunity to assist Johnson & Johnson. Are you happy with the project thus far and how you have performed?
Yes. We weren't the first people brought on by Johnson & Johnson, but we were one of the first people to produce a vaccine. And certainly what Johnson & Johnson told us, that we are the lead supplier in the world. So it made us really proud, because others are in Europe and the US, and they said we are the lead supplier in the world. And that makes us really proud to show that in Africa we've got skills, we've got capability, capacity. We just need to be given a chance. Give us the opportunity and we'll prove it to you.
Creating lots of jobs.
It does, and particularly if we can keep expanding. And then there's other industries that come. You know, vials come with lots of glass, so who knows, maybe we can get a glass industry and a more packaging. So hopefully there's a lot of other downstream activities we can create.
Your message to leaders on the continent?
I think that we need to unite as one. I see for once we're starting to see it. We've been split and fractured too easily in the past. We talk as one, think as one, and work as one to try and make sure we find solutions for our own problems rather than lots of other people influence us indirectly. And I think we're starting to see that unity coming through in the continent. And, you know, and people like ourselves who've got the skills and been fortunate enough to be successful, we need to put back into our continent as well.